What's up, guys? It's Big D from Big D Films. It's getting to be that time of year again, at least here in Michigan, that riding season is beginning to dwindle. There's not a whole lot of days left, if any, to get the bike out and do some riding. So in an effort to put out some other content here on Big D Films, we're going to try a little something different. Whether you're into motorcycles or not, or if you ride motorcycles or not, there's no denying that motorcycles are and have been part of our culture for a very long time. Now, there are a lot of motorcycle clubs out there, and a lot of riding clubs out there, and a lot of people that aren't associated with any clubs, but they just like to get out on a bike and ride. And regardless, whether you ride with a group or not, if you do ride, then something got you into riding motorcycles. Whether that's a friend that you know that got you into it, or if you just saw a bike riding down the road and piques your interest, or if you're somebody like me, you've seen it in other avenues of our culture, and that's media of some point or some sort, and whether it's a TV show or some movies, either one. For me, it was a TV show, and it was Sons of Anarchy. That is a story for another day. But speaking of Sons of Anarchy, the SOA spinoff, the Mayans MC, has just wrapped up its first season with its season finale. And that is what we're going to be talking about in this video, the Mayans MC. Now, a lot of you already know this, but for those who don't, the Mayans MC is a spinoff of the Sons of Anarchy motorcycle show, created by Kurt Sutter, and it airs on FX. The first season has finally just wrapped up, and I had a lot of things I was going to say for this video, but I just watched the season finale for the first season of the Mayans MC, and my opinions have changed a little bit. Now, I'm not like a critic or anything like that. These are simply my opinions on the show. There's going to be some comparisons to the Sons of Anarchy show, but I'm going to try to just focus on just the Mayans as its own thing. Our story is about Ezekiel, and he is the main character of the show. He is a prospect for the Mayans MC in a chapter down in Southern California on the border of Mexico. The story, I feel, is one of the main problems with this show. While watching the first season of the Mayans, I get a sense, or I feel when I'm watching it, the show, although it's called the Mayans, doesn't revolve around the Mayans. The show seems to revolve around the Galindo cartel and the rebels in Mexico. And without trying to make too many comparisons to the original show, Sons of Anarchy, I'm already going to make one here now, is that the Sons of Anarchy in the original show, that was, at least for the most part, I mean, you always have side plots and other characters that do things within the show and have their own little story arc that kind of push the main story along, but the main story was focused on the club Sons of Anarchy. This show, that's not what I got out of it. In this show, once again, unlike the original, without focusing on the Mayans really that much, at least as far as I feel, we don't have a connection to the Mayans chapter like we did in the other show. We don't have a connection with a lot of those characters or members of the club. We don't really know much about the president. We don't know much about any of the other officers. We don't know a whole lot about a lot of the members. They did focus on Angel and a couple of his other buddies that he runs with, and of course Easy. But the main focus seemed to be, once again, on the Galindo cartel and the rebels. And whilst watching the show, seeming like the Mayans were an afterthought it kind of turned me off from the show. I wasn't able to focus on it as much and enjoy it because I was going into the show expecting to learn a lot more about the rival turned ally of the Sons of Anarchy, and that's the Mayans MC. On top of that, going in, the story that they're trying to tell with this show is obviously different than the one from the original show. Obviously, it's its whole own entity. But the main story, and there's some spoilers here, so if you haven't watched the show, or if you're not all the way through it, there's some spoilers that may be coming up, so just a fair warning. The main character, Easy, is, again, he's a prospect, but as far as this storyline is concerned, it seems to me the way that it's written is Easy, even though he's a prospect for the club, he was in prison and he's made some kind of a deal to get dirt on either the MC or I believe it was the cartel, not necessarily the MC. The MC was his in to get this dirt on the cartel. So it's, as far as a character story, his character doesn't want to be a prospect to get into the MC because that's what he believes in and that's what he wants to be a part of. He's there because he has to be, because somebody else put him up to that. And that is not quite the story that I was looking for when I originally got involved in watching the show. As the season had progressed, there was some other factors for Easy. Yes, he was trying to do a job, basically, but obviously within this life, there's a lot of other things that happen. His brother Angel is a part of it, and there's some family things going on. He gets roped into other situations, which brings him a little bit deeper into the club. So even though he was originally just trying to do a job, I think his focus and his beliefs may be shifting and turning a little bit by the time we got to the end of the first season. But still, a lot of that early story and the way that story was playing out and just the way that the show was portrayed, it was hard for me to get into. Another issue that I feel that this show had was the cameo appearances. Now, I'm not trying to just destroy the show. I mean, I still think it's a good show. I just don't think it didn't reach my expectations. Maybe my expectations were too high. But the cameo appearances, some of them were great. Others not so much. I believe it's like in the first, maybe the second episode, there's a flashback of Easy when he is in prison 8 years prior to present day, and we see Gemma sitting there in the background. And anybody that knows the Sons of Anarchy show knows that she had passed away late in the original show's running, but she's there in a flashback for Easy, and it would have been fine if there would have been a purpose to it, but there wasn't. She made a few second appearance for me to go, hey, I know who that is. She's from the Sons of Anarchy, the original show. I know that's Gemma. But there's really no rhyme or reason for her to be there. It doesn't push the story along. It doesn't really. You could have done away with that and it wouldn't have made a bit of difference. And it's cameo appearances like that I didn't really care for. On the other hand, there's other cameo appearances that later have more significance, that mean more. Potter is one of them, Lincoln Potter. And obviously he was one of the feds in the original show, and he has a cameo appearance partway through the season. He says something to Easy at night on the outside of a junkyard, and I was thinking to myself at first that, what, is this another one of those things where, oh, hey, I know that guy? But no, it wasn't. They were able to take the Potter character, revamp it a little bit, and put him back into the main storyline, and so therefore the cameo appearance was fine because it turned into something more that became a regular part of the main story and helped push that into either one direction or another, or just help push the storyline along. So appearances like that from the original show to the Mayans, to me, is fine. On top of Potter, you have Chucky was great in the original show. He is also a part of the Mayans, but I don't really know what they're doing with him yet. He's made more than one appearance. He's been in several episodes, so he might become a little more relevant later. So, again, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. In the season finale that I just watched, some of the Sam Crow, Redwood Original members of the Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club came down and were having a party with the Mayans, and Happy shows up. And depending on where they go with that is going to determine whether, again, I feel that was completely pointless, or, okay, they're going to actually use the Happy character from the original show and do something with it. Now, I'm not going to give a whole lot away here, but with how Happy's appearance came to be and some other flashback moments, things of that nature, I have a feeling that the Happy character is going to have a more prevalent role as we go forward. And one of the other things that I had about this show, and this doesn't really make the show bad or good, this one is completely personal preference to me. And I'm the kind of guy that is very, very visual. And there's a lot of points in this show that I'm having to read the dialogue because they go from English to Spanish. Again, they are on the California Mexican border, and obviously there's a lot of Spanish speaking people down there, and that's just a part of the culture in that part of the area. But when they go to start speaking Spanish and I have to read the dialogue at the bottom of the screen, that kind of takes me out of the moment. To me, I feel that I can't focus on what is going on screen with the characters that are speaking this dialogue, because since I have to read it, I don't get to see like the facial expressions to kind of get the mood of what the characters are in, or the mood of the moment. I don't get to pay attention to the background of whatever's going on in that scene. I have to read the text and take my eyes off of what's actually going on screen. Again, I get it because of the setting and the culture and all of that. It just, for me, makes it a little harder for me to keep my focus on the screen and what's going on with the characters. I also felt that they tried to cram too much stuff into 10 episodes. I don't know whether they didn't know for sure if they were going to get renewed for a second season or not, but it seemed to me that they were trying to do way too much, way too soon. They would have a problem come up and arise, and within the next 15 minutes, there's another curveball or something else that either takes that problem away, now you have a new problem, or just something of that nature. It seemed like there was just too much, and again, it was hard for me to get invested in the scenario or even the story, just because it seemed like there was so much happening in so little time. Now, I just read right before I started filming this video that apparently they have been renewed for a second season. So a lot of these things that I'm kind of complaining about here, that I have these opinions about, I'm hoping they're going to fix in season 2. Some of these things that I'm critiquing right now might end up being fine if there is a season 2, and depending on how they write it and where they go with the story in season 2, I might be able to look back at season 1 and go, you know what, now that this is continued on, what happened in season 1 and how it was written, I can get with now. I don't really have as much of an issue with it because it's played out longer. But with at least with just the season 1, these are just some of the things that I've noticed that, to me, the Mayans just simply doesn't hold up to Sons of Anarchy. Now again, I'm not trying to rip this show apart. All in all, it's not a bad show. It's decent. It's not amazing, but it's not complete crap either. It's kind of in the middle. It's one of those shows that's like, this is cool. This is all right. I don't mind watching it. If it's on, I don't mind watching it. But if it doesn't improve with season 2, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue watching it. It's just not there for me. They could have called it Galindo, and had it been about the Galindo cartel, and I would have probably been a little more fine with it. It's the fact that they call it the Mayans, and I'm expecting the show to focus on the Mayans MC, and I just don't feel like they're doing that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the second season, and I'm hoping that with some of the tie-ins from the original show that they began to put into the show, and if they're going to continue that or not, at least with a couple of these, they probably will. But I'm hoping with at least some of these things that I'm critiquing, I know some of them they won't. Again, with at least the back and forth between English and Spanish, that's going to continue, again, just because of the culture and where they're at. That's all fine. I can live with that. I'll get past that. But a couple of these other things I hope that they do fix, and I hope that they focus on the Mayans come season 2. So that's my opinion on the Mayans MC. Let me know what you guys think of the show down in the comments below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, and if you enjoy this video and want to see more content and want to stay informed of when new content comes up, hit the subscribe button on this channel, and you can also find us on Facebook at Big D Films as well. So with that being said, guys, that's it for me for now, and we'll catch you down the road.